Hello and welcome to CES. Thank you for joining Luminar as we welcome to the stage Austin Russell, founder and CEO, who will tell us all the exciting things happening in 2024.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. This will be an exciting one here too. So looking forward to kicking it off. Already great CES, great audience, great show. So awesome, and a thank you to all the partners around here too that are showing off Luminar throughout CES. So let's do it, and let's jump right in. So first off, we always start with the problem. What are we ultimately solving for here? And it all comes back down to the implications of vehicle accidents and collisions of what happens today. There's over 50 million vehicle collisions that happen annually at a global scale, leading to 1.3 million lives lost on the road every single year. And what that means ultimately is that on average, according to the relevant data and sources, nearly 1 in 100 of us will tragically lose our lives as a result of a vehicle accident at some point. And that really hits home. That means at some point 1 or 2 people in this audience alone will tragically lose their lives statistically as a result of a vehicle accident. And this is something that's totally preventable. It's something that we need to solve for, but the current systems today are just not sufficient to be able to make that happen. And the reality is that the camera and radar-based ADAS systems out there are not able to solve for the majority of these kinds of vehicle-related collision systems from cars that are driven out on the road today, even with the most advanced technologies out there. And of course, things are improving, but there's a very, very long way to go. And we really need a step change in ADAS technology and capabilities to be able to make that happen. Use the pedestrian detection and AEB kind of example as it relates to that, and even 70% of the cases were not actually able to be successfully detected and be able to come to a safe stop in time for being able to see something as simple as someone right in front of you. So there's a very long way to go for that, much less for autonomous driving capabilities. And again, despite even these improvements, you would think that you would see the fatality rates and collision rates going down significantly, but the data continues to support time and time again, and support even by more recent years, that the annual fatality rates have continued to actually climb, even despite advancements in these kinds of technologies out on the road. And again, it all comes down to needing that step function difference in capability as people become, either worse drivers or more distracted, with devices like these that are ever attracting more and more of our attention. And that's something that I think is going to be absolutely critical and needs to more than offset that distracted driving, as well as just collisions generally. It is a solvable problem. And it's not just that the life-saving implication that also has impact. It's also economic impact. The reality is that this brings about, according to the National Safety Council, on the order of $1.3 trillion of annual economic cost just to the US alone as a result of these vehicle collisions and accidents and deaths. So, I mean, the implications are incredibly widespread, and this is when you take into account everything from like medical expenses to wages and productivity losses and motor vehicle damage from the cars itself, employer insurance costs, etc. I mean, that's like on the order of like 5% of the United States' GDP. I mean, pretty insane. So, the thing is that when it comes down to it, all of that ultimately rolls, into a cost of insurance, which we'll talk a little bit more about shortly. So, the thing is that people have proposed these kind of solutions for how we're solving it, and most of it have been centered around, how you can enable robo-taxis for full self-driving use cases that are trying to be able to enable safer vehicles out on the road by taking the driver out of the equation altogether. And we've seen how that's gone, not particularly well. And I think the reality is that you shouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. There's very two distinct approaches here. One is about how you can enhance drivers to make cars safer with leveraging the existing, multi-trillion-a-year production vehicle industry. The other is trying to replace drivers altogether. And while I do think there is a great long-term future for that, there's been no shortage of noise implications for what's happened there in the near term. And this is where I think it's ever more important and goes to show with yet more proof points of why we need to stay focused on how we can enhance the cars of today and not get over ambitious in trying to replace drivers altogether. And that's exactly what Luminar has been focused on. So if you simply put, you can go to the next slide, perfect. It's all about enhancing rather than replacing the driver. And this is the exact distinction when it comes to autonomy about what Luminar is able to do. We're able to give the driver almost superhuman-like capabilities to be able to avoid accidents, to take over the system when it senses that you're going to get into a critical or potentially life-changing scenario for a collision. And that really makes all the difference. So this has been the focus from the beginning, and an incredibly important distinction for what Luminar has been doing versus what the rest of the industry has largely been focused on when you talk about the tens of billions of dollars that are continue to be deployed in the robotaxi world and domain. So you'll see some examples of vehicles and cars for what we have today that are able to launch with these capabilities. But first, we want to show off a little bit more about what we've done and what we've shown in this exact domain for enhancing drivers. And you'll be able to see this live here at CES right outside in the parking lot. So this is a perfect example of something that's called automatic emergency steering. And you take a look at an example of a vehicle equipped with Luminar and without Luminar in each of these respective examples. And you have modern vehicles from various EVs and other things that you can see, as well as new combustion engine vehicles out on the road. In comparable examples, how the Luminar-equipped vehicle is able to actively take over control from the driver when it senses that a pedestrian dummy is able to cross the path and into the path of intersection with the vehicle. And you're talking about less than a second of reaction time of what it needs to do to be able to swerve around that respective pedestrian. And this happens in both daytime as well as nighttime conditions, and something that we're able to achieve. So you guys may have seen some other examples about the straight-on, pedestrian AEB examples there, but this gives a perfect use case around how these scenarios are a lot more complex than, just simply stopping for something right in front of you as well. And again, this is something that is a real problem for everyone at the end of the day. Having a last-second reaction time, even if you're not distracted, is still a very, very challenging task for any human. So that's like a perfect kind of example of how we can save more lives and make a bigger difference in the world. And again, you'll be able to experience that live out on the track in the parking lot here. So please take a few minutes, take a drive. It's an experience like nothing else there at the same time. And you also saw some of the small object detection, like stopping for the tire out there as well, which is something that's very meaningful. But at the end of the day, the thing is that there really hasn't been any kind of quantitative, comprehensive study about the active safety capabilities of top-selling vehicles across the rest of the industry. And this is something that we think is going to be incredibly compelling, and we're excited to see some major organizations actually be able to step up and start to be able to put forth what the real safety results are and safety impact is of vehicles out on the road today. And how we can be able to make these significantly better when you have a vehicle equipped with Luminar. So to the respective organization in a process led by Swiss Re, the second largest reinsurer in the world, they've actually now also, in addition to some of the top selling vehicles around the US and top new electric vehicles, have taken a Luminar equipped car as a benchmark example of the kinds of things that can be done from a safety standpoint. And ultimately, those safety improvements make their way into costs and economics, which goes back to that economic impact and damage. So that report ultimately will be released this year, and something that we'll be excited to see the results of there too, and the impact that can be had in a quantitative capacity. But the reason why this is important is because when you talk about accidents, there is a inherent cost advantage and benefit as well from a safety standpoint, in addition to the fundamental benefits around life-saving capabilities and autonomous driving capabilities that the sensor can ultimately provide and the software can ultimately provide. So fewer and less severe accidents directly translate into fewer and less expensive insurance claims out on a vehicle. and correspondingly, lower cost of insurance. And this is data that we're excited to see directly shared, the Swiss Re will with respective insurers that all be publicly available to be able to see about the safety impact and implications. And what this means is that when it comes to a total cost of ownership perspective, you can actually, as a consumer, ultimately have the opportunity to be able to get the benefits of what Luminar can deliver for the life-saving capabilities, as well as the autonomous driving capabilities, at a net cost of zero. And that's something for what is going to substantially further drive and accelerate what was already a trend of standardization of the technology across the industry. So very excited to see this happen and this be implicated. And again, this is something as it relates to this study, specific also to Luminar. And that's really where we'll have more to talk about, but we gave a little bit of a preview earlier this year on the insurance efforts that we have and already helping capture that economic benefit for our share of that 1.3 trillion that we can ultimately help save. So all of that leads back into the vision of going back to it, of saving as many as 100 million lives and 100 trillion hours of people's time out on the road through those kinds of time-saving autonomous capabilities over the next 100 years. And that makes all the difference. It's something that we're very passionate about. This is the root of what Luminar is all about. And we'll talk a little bit more about the kinds of vehicles and the kinds of things that we're already getting integrated into. One thing to note as well is that the technology that we have is also independent of a kind of vehicle platform and powertrain. When it comes down to it, we know there's a lot of different talk about. Gotten a lot of questions so far at CES of like, okay, what are is it just EVs exclusively that it's on, or is it, can it go on combustion engine vehicles? Like what does that mean? And it's actually interesting of all the various vehicle models that are embedded on, interestingly enough, actually a majority of them are either have a combustion engine vehicle variant or are a combustion engine vehicle, in addition to the EV models that we're embedded on. But we're excited to talk more about some of those new EVs and what is actually going to be launching this year. So first, I want to do a little bit of a side dive into semiconductors and some of the process that we've had in terms of the fundamentals of the technology of what enables this to be possible. So we've continued to be able to have breakthroughs in our semiconductor developments and are excited to be able to have 6 new, significant iterations and new chips of semiconductors, many of which are already embedded in the technology and are going to be embedded in the future generations of our technology for these kinds of LiDAR systems. And this is as it relates to Iris Plus and future generations of the product, as well as making continuous improvements and updates to the existing Iris capabilities. So something we're very excited about, and the kinds of things that you can already see the results of today out on the track and here with the respective vehicles. So this applies across both the laser, the receiver, and the processing electronics, technologies that go into the sensing system, and something that we've been able to leverage, be very successful. And heck, we've even actually been able to sell these same kinds of technologies and systems to other unrelated industries, given how much of a significant breakthrough we've had for these kinds of products and semiconductors. But again, Luminar always starts from the chip level up when we develop our new technologies, and this is really important for maintaining that full stack approach and relevance in being able to stay at the forefront of innovation in all respects and dimensions, for pushing the limits of performance and safety capabilities for what we can deliver with these LiDAR systems and beyond. So 2024 is going to mark a pivotal year for us. And one of the key things that we're really excited about is the upcoming launch with Volvo cars for the global start of production. This is really the first time when you see a major global vehicle standardized, with the technology and being able to have these kinds of capabilities just generally for the industry. So really a pivotal moment for everyone, and very excited to be able to move full speed ahead towards that launch this year. So we've met the respective milestones. We announced last year we met the run at rate capabilities, for the vehicle to be able to meet the production capacity and targets for what things are lining up for this year. And you can see actually I'm installing, for example, the entire roof module there, which includes the respective shroud over the LiDAR for the new EX90 vehicle. Again, something that will be incredible, featuring Luminar on every vehicle produced. So that's something that, again, as part of the new platform, is going to be incredibly meaningful towards realizing that vision of dramatically improved safety, while also enhancing the performance capabilities of these assisted driving systems and ultimately autonomous driving systems on highways. So, yeah, that's what we have ahead. If you go to the next one. So next up, very excited to be able to talk about, and for the first time with Luminar in our booth, show off all these developments and the culmination of the developed work with Polestar. I see Thomas, the CEO of Polestar, here too. So thank you for the great partnership and support, and very excited to see what's ahead now with the launch of the Polestar 3. So with that, let's roll the clip. So you can see, like I said, incredible vehicle in terms of how it's shaped up, in terms of the development, design impeccable, product impeccable. But what makes this really special as well, beyond that, from an assisted driving and autonomous driving perspective, is the pushing the limits of the performance capabilities on the sensing system to be able to enable, enhanced driver and user experience, for people in Polestar cars. And that's something that excited to be able to see both the launch of the 3 that's coming out in the immediate term here has already successfully launched, and then ultimately by the end of the year equipped with Luminar as an option on the vehicle. So you can see a vision for the future as well for the subsequent vehicles. But in addition to the Polestar 3, excited to show, if you go to the next slide here, we'll show the vehicle lineup if you guys can transition it. While they're working on that, so basically you have the Polestar 3 that's out here. You have the Polestar 4, something that we're excited to be able to show off and was recently announced over at Polestar Day. That's something that is a next vehicle they have, again, incredibly sleek, incredibly meaningful, and something that we've actually been collaborating and working with Mobileye on as part of the integration for a system for that next generation vehicle platform that we're excited to be able to show off. So really what happens is that it's both the Polestar 3, Polestar 4, and Polestar 5 that will be able to feature Luminar out on the vehicles to show those huge performance advantages and gains for what you can get from an assisted driving perspective. So one other note is that as it relates to Mobileye, is that this is the first time from a product standpoint that the years worth of work and development that we've gone into the Mobileye system have actually made their way into a production vehicle. So that's something that we're really excited about, and something that Amnon, the Mobileye CEO, shared a little bit more on stage of as we were at a Polestar Day just a couple of months back. So very exciting. The last thing to point out for those for the viewers online is that we actually have a Polestar 3 here live with us today that's able to show off the Luminar technology out on the vehicle. So something that I'm incredibly proud of to be able to see, and excited to be able to get out there with. So 2 thumbs up, beautiful looking car. All right, so next up, excited to see Kodiak, one of the leading autonomous trucking companies out there today, may be able to make an announcement with that they've now exclusively are using Luminar for all their long-range sensing needs for their current and future generations of vehicles. This is something that we think is very meaningful, impactful, and they've seen some great success in adjacent markets and defense. If we go back for a second, play the. If you could play the trucking video there, that would be great. And in addition to Kodiak, what we've lined up is both a partnership and relationship with Gatik, a leading provider for these different trucking systems, as well as a partnership with Plus, a leading provider for assisted driving systems. And again, something that for trucking, and again, we see that as very important to being able to provide these greater enhanced assisted driving packages, for drivers out on the road. So you can see the Kodiak vehicle, playing live, and that's something that's out there today, and again, something they're seeing great success with, and something that I think we're very proud of to be able to have out on the road with them. So Plus, again, great partnership. They're able to start using the technology. They have, again, the customers that some of these guys have been able to get, like in the case of Plus for Amazon, have been nothing short of incredible. So great to be able to see the technology deployed there. You take a look at something like a Gatic, out there is a great middle mile logistics leader that's able to use their technology to be able to help serve customers like Kroger, Walmart, and other types of major retailers out there to make a huge impact logistically for the technology out on the road. So you can see a few different kinds of examples of what we can do in those cases. So we'll go to the next slide. So last, we have something very, very exciting to be able to show off with everyone. And the partnership that we've had with Mercedes has been nothing short of incredible. We've really been focusing all in to be able to make sure this can be successful. Actually, at the end of this last year, we successfully completed the very rigorous and stringent VDA audit that's required to be able to ensure the level of industrialization, production, readiness, and capability that you can have as a mature organization to be able to be successful as a partner to Mercedes directly. And there's a lot of work that goes into that, and we're excited to continue to deliver and execute against the key program. What you'll be able to see actually in their booth and what they were able to show off, they just gave a fortunate shout out there. But you can even see the next generation reference platform like the CLA vehicle that they have there. Incredibly sleek, incredibly beautiful, and with a very seamlessly integrated LiDAR shroud over the roofline, representative of what those vehicles can look like for the next generation platform that they have out there. And we're excited to have them as an incredible partner for this. But there's more, and it's expanding. So with that, let's roll the video. We get the audio going too. Excited to be able to share and show off something very special with Mercedes. It's something that they've been looking forward to for a while. And with this, with Luminar, we are now working with Mercedes at AMG to be able to build the world's safest safety car for Formula One. We're bringing this kind of technology out from the road, the same technology that's going on to Mercedes vehicles, out onto the track. So with that, here's a representation of what the next Formula One safety car will look like out on the world stage. So, all right. All right. And thank you. And with that, we have Marcus Schaefer here. Excited to be able to get out there and see what we can do. Great CES ahead, and much appreciated.